Hello, everyone, and welcome to Momavation TV. I'm your host, Leah Segedie, where we're green enough to be healthy and chill enough to be happy. This is our first live Facebook Live show. I don't know if you guys have been in the community for the 9-10 years that we've been around, but we used to do a show every week and bring up guests, and it was amazing. And I retired it for a little bit, but we're back, and we're going to do a summer series and bring up a ton of experts and talk about lots of things to make your home happier and healthier. Today, we're joined by my first guest, Amy Ziff from Made Safe. Hey, Amy, how are you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm proud to be first. Thank you, Leah.
Well, you're one of my favorite people in the world, of course. And just to give you guys a little bit of background about Amy and I, Amy started up Made Safe about, was it 2-3 years ago?
3 years ago we launched, so it was, being hatched for about 7, but it took a long time to get out in the world.
But I knew about Made Safe for quite a while before you started it up because,
exactly,
to put on something like a feat like Made Safe is quite a feat. And you have to, of course, get your arms around the entire community, get people's support. And so we were all really happy to do that and so excited that something like Made Safe is a thing. And just so you guys know, this is a nonprofit that is essentially changing the world of personal care products, consumer products, cleaning products, and making them safer and a little bit basically non-toxic. Amy, why don't you just talk a little bit about Made Safe so everyone knows who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I started Made Safe to give people a non-toxic certification program that they could use as an instant identifier on products to know whether or not there was nasty stuff inside their products or not. And, as a mom myself, this is what I really wanted. There were lots of eco and green seals and things that talked about, worker welfare and other kinds of stuff. But what I really, really wanted to know was bottom line tell me, is this safe to use with my family, with my children, in my community, in my home? And there wasn't anything just like that on the market. And so I set out to create Made Safe. And of course, number one, it's scientifically rigorous. We look at, we use a chemist to analyze a bunch of different endpoints and look at whether or not every single ingredient and sub-ingredient in a product is going to bioaccumulate, how it's going to behave in the environment, will it readily degrade, what happens in soil, sediment, air, does it off-gas toxins, and then what happens when it hits the water table. One way or another, our products end up into our waterways, wanted or not, and so what happens to aquatic life? And then we go even further and we look at animal health and well-being, and we go, I like to say, from mouse to moose, the little guys and the big guys, how do these things behave out in the wild? And that's really what Made Safe does. It does all the hard work, all the homework, and frankly, the research that you don't have the ability to do because you don't see what we see. Right? Yeah, exactly. Who wants to do that? I mean, maybe you do that. Yeah, you do for one product and you're like, whew, that was a lot. I can't do that for everything in my house, but you don't have to because Made Safe will.
So just to remind you guys, we're having a giveaway, and we're of course giving away 2 copies of my book, Green Enough. Eat better, live cleaner, be happier, all without driving your family crazy. Amy did, and she helped me with the personal care chapter of this book. So of course, she helped me, and Lindsay Dahl helped me make sure to edit and everything. And of course, we had our scientific advisors, our scientists going through it as well. But this book is basically, in a nutshell, everything you need to know. So we're giving 2 copies away, one to someone live during the show at the end of the show, and then one over the weekend. So if you share this with your friends and they comment as well, they will be entered to win. So we're doing 2. So the topic of personal care, Amy, I left for last because I felt like, oh my gosh, this is a shit show, to be quite honest, and it's incredibly frustrating. It's incredibly time consuming to research. And I did it, of course, and I know about it. And you and I are in the same boat here, but yeah. It's just, even for us, it's complicated. So I can only imagine how the consumers, how these women feel, anyone who's trying to kind of research personal care products and, they're looking at the ingredients and their eyes are bleeding from, just getting like, oh my God, that's a big, huge word. What is that? The crazy thing about personal care is those long words aren't necessarily dangerous.
Right.
So, it's not the same rules as food. Food is easy. You see something, you can't read it. Typically, it's chemical based in a not so good way, and you can avoid it 9 times out of 10. Not all the time, but 9 times out of 10. But in the world of personal care, this is not the thing. So Amy and I were talking about very simple ways that you can spot a safe personal care product. And there's one really simple way that works, I would say, 85% of the time? You know what I'm saying? Not 100% of the time, but 85% of the time. And you flip that bottle over and you look for the word fragrance, okay? And if you see that word, it's got a mountain of things behind it. So I'm going to let Amy talk to you a little bit about what that word fragrance means and what it means if you see it on the bottle. Take it away, girl.
Thank you. So yeah, as Leah said, this is the number one no-no. It's kind of an indicator of who is it that is making your product and can you trust what they're saying? So fragrance has become the black box of personal care. What do I mean by that? Well, literally over 4,000 chemical ingredients that we know of can go into the term fragrance or parfum, perfume, scent, whatever you want to call it. I smell a rat when I see the word fragrance. Exactly. So we want to give that to you as it's a really good guide. If a company is using fragrance, they may not even know exactly what's in their own products, because the way this works behind the scenes is a manufacturer that's not necessarily the brand is obtaining an ingredient to put in a product and make it smell a certain way. So as a brand, you might say, we want to have our signature scent. That's what oftentimes brands will call something that's made personalized for them. They don't make that smell. They hire a third party to do it. That comes from what's called a fragrance house. The fragrance house owns the IP. IP stands for intellectual property. So the fragrance house owns the IP around that fragrance. And they say, we've created your signature scent brand X, and here you go. You can put on the product fragrance. Well, you can put fragrance and you can still say from different kinds of things, but it gives you this wiggle way around stating what's in there. And because of those, remember those 4,000 chemicals that can go in them, not all of which are actually needed to make the product scent, but many of which are things to do other kinds of aspects or dimensions of work within the product. They could be additional preservatives. They could be additional texturizers. They could be something to make the scent last longer. There actually are chemicals, and many times those are plasticizers, things like phthalates.
Yeah, guys.
And the problem is where there's not phthalates, there's going to be something else, some sort of chemical substance or substitute. So within this black box of fragrance, you can literally have thousands and in most cases, hundreds of ingredients that are not listed on the pack. Why does that matter? Because those things that aren't being listed can be a whole host of toxins. The reason why Made Safe exists is to go through, as I said, the hard work, the homework, do all that research of what's going into something. And so that hasn't been done. It's not, you're not able to really do your job. And this is particularly important for people who have sensitivities and allergies. They want to see those ingredients, not because they're necessarily going to have an anaphylactic response, though in some cases that has happened with fragrance. But for some people, it can be anywhere on the spectrum, from an asthmatic response to another autoimmune response or something else, some hives. You want to know what's in there. And so you can't if the product says fragrance. And we at Made Safe don't think that's acceptable. We require full disclosure, not just to us about what goes into fragrance, but on pack and or on web, because sometimes we're talking about teeny weeny little packages where, you can't find it, but you've got to be able to give that to your customers. And we just think that's you know, being a truly better brand means being transparent. So why don't brands always do this? Let's get into that. Like, brands don't always want to be transparent, right? Because as Leah knows, sometimes they, as we said, they don't know.
Sometimes they don't know. And we've seen stuff happen with, and this is referred to as white labeling. So if you ladies want to understand this, remember the term white labeling. And that essentially means just what she says. A company is going to another company to have them formulate their product or formulate part of their product. That means they may not know themselves what's actually in the product. So if you ask them, they may say, oh, you know, we don't have to disclose, or it's proprietary, because legally it is proprietary. They don't have to tell us. But in this age, ladies, what are we asking for? Transparency. Is this the age of yesterday? No, this is the age of today. So if you support companies that are being transparent with their quote unquote fragrance and telling you what's in there, that is like, they are miles ahead. So we're going back to fragrance. So sorry, Amy, I pushed something in there just, and then in just a second, then we're going to go to a couple of the questions that they have in the chat room. Thanks guys for chiming in.
And I wanted to just add a couple of other things on fragrance, because I know often, and of course, Leah, your awesome book, Green Enough, which I love. As I told Leah, like when she told me she was going to write this book, I was like, oh, it's so hard. And are you going to dumb it down? And I'm going to, like, we're so close and I love you. And I'm going to have to be like, your baby is ugly. And, you know, what am I going to do? And then she's like, can I send you a chapter? And she sends me the chapter. And I was like, this is awesome. It is. And I don't say that lightly, because it's really, really hard to take on the topic of living healthy in a really dirty age, and do it justice. And I thought you did, and so beautifully. And I love Dr. Tanya and Pete, you know, chiming in to drop that heavy science and weigh in as, you know, as their credentials allow. But there is a lot for people to do. So anyway, Green Enough also deals with food. And so that made me want to make sure that I touched on fragrances, you know, the left hand to the right hand. These two go hand in hand, is fragrance and flavor. With fragrance, we see that, or with flavor rather, and these are even natural flavors, that a lot of these same tricks are played. Where do you think brands get their flavors from? Oh, it's the fragrance houses. Well, guess what? That IP is protected. And so you don't always know what's in your product. And so look for, also when you're looking for fragrance, you might want to look for flavor. And we're talking about personal care. This is in your personal care. It could be in a lip gloss or a lip balm, or I've even seen eye products. Like you will have face products and body lotions and things that say flavors, and you might be duped into thinking, oh, that's fine, that's safe, it's just a natural flavor. But if they're not telling you what's in that natural flavor, you don't know what's in it. And a great example of this is like when you're making, not that I ever cook from a box, but but you know,
we all do sometimes, so that's okay. I mean, again, don't forget, this community is green enough to be healthy and chill enough to be happy. So go ahead, spill it.
Exactly, right? So if you're ever making you know, like chocolate chip cookies, there's like some gluten-free recipes that I love. And then they're going to tell you that the chocolate chips they're giving you, they're going to put in parentheses, like whatever cocoa and soy lecithin and whatever, or sunflower lecithin, I was thinking, you know, and whatever else they've put into those chocolate chips, as well. And then they in parentheses, and they go on with the list of ingredients. That's the kind of thing we want to see with fragrance and flavor. You know, they can give us that level of detail. It is done with food oftentimes. So it's just setting a higher bar, excuse me, and asking, you know, and pushing for more. And we can get into sort of why that's happened. I mean, there's a whole dynamic of this with governmental, non-governmental agencies, but nonprofits that sort of cross the US borders into Europe. There's IFRA, and brands sometimes point to that and say, we don't use any IFRA chemicals, but
Tell the audience real quick what IFRA is, because they probably have, that's a big one.
Yeah. So IFRA is the International Fragrance Association, IFRA, and they represent the world's fragrance houses. And what they do is, kind of monitor these so-called fragrance ingredients. And they've published a list which you can get. And actually, if you want to go to madesafe.org and look under our education area, what's in products, we have a whole blog post on fragrance, and you can see some of this information and get the list and go to this IFRA list. But they publish a list of chemicals like styrene that carcinogen that can go into
styrofoam, guys. So when she says styrene, think styrofoam.
Yeah. And they can use things like resorcinol, which is linked to endocrine disruption. It's on several other lists. We wouldn't allow it in a Made Safe product. But again, you wouldn't know that that's in there. There could be parabens in your fragrance and you don't know. So, and we know parabens are endocrine disruptors. They're oftentimes used as preservatives. There's lots of information out there on that, if that's a new word for you and you want to learn a little bit about that. But again, it gets back to, we need transparency. We need brands to tell us, be honest with us about what's going in their products. And I don't know, Leah, man, I wish you were there with me yesterday. I went to Albany with Clean and Healthy New York because there is actually a bill in New York that's about, it's being called like toxic show and tell, and it's to push some disclosures. And boy, do we need it? But this staffer for one of the New York State senators said, it's not what we hear from pushback, and they don't hear it from the brands. They hear it from people like the American Chemistry Council. And, these are the big boys who are paid.
We love the American Chemistry Council.
Yeah.
So sarcastic, right?
Exactly. You feel like that, Kate.
They've actually tweeted at me and told me that soda is safe. I mean, like, they've literally...
Right. Okay. Soda's safe. Why don't you drink that and see how well that goes for you? Because I think you've already drank it and it's affected your brain. It must be the diet soda, and it's like screwing up the neurological processes already. But seriously, I'm not going to take that risk. But we want to get those off the shelf. So yeah, those good old guys at the ACC tell the legislators, people are, consumers can't handle transparency, like full transparency. And I'm like,
we're not smart enough.
Right. We don't understand.
And I'm sorry. This to me is so incredibly aggravating, because it's a bunch of men that make these rules, and they know the consumers are primarily female. So what they're actually saying is, you women, don't worry your pretty little head about these things. Exactly. You just do what we say, okay? Like it's always been. And none of this talking to each other and none of this reading ingredients. We know all about these ingredients. We'll just tell you what to think. You know what I got to say? That's some bullshit right there. And it's over, men.
I know.
Because now we have social media. We can talk to each other. We can explore. I'm sorry. There are more women in universities receiving degrees than there are men now. I mean, this is not the 1940s anymore, and they're still in the last century. So, I have a lot of, when I hear that kind of stuff, my brain just goes nuts, because all I can think of is, oh, how dare you?
Yeah. And this staffer, it was so interesting because he was definitely on our side. He was like, I get frustrated. Like, I want to see some of this to go through. I've been working on it for a number of years and thought we've come close, and all of that. He was lamenting, but I did think it was really interesting that in this day and age, you can hide behind people can't handle the truth,
You can't handle their response is what that's about.
Exactly.
You cannot handle their response, but their response is not convenient for your market share or your bottom line, which means women are getting very, very, very smart. We're connecting online. We're figuring this out on our own. And you know what? We don't need them.
Right.
Honestly, we don't need them.
So this is the thing. If you're going to buy a product that says fragrance, that's your choice.
Your choice.
You will write to the brand and say, I want you to call this out before I buy another one, or I'm going to switch to, a brand that will be honest. It is so hard to make a made safe product. It is, right. It is very intentional. It is crafting with consciousness. It is swimming upstream at every step of the way. It is hard. And that is by design, as it should be, because we are using these on our bodies and in our homes and with our babies, right? But that said, I'm not saying that every product you're going to use is going to, we only have hundreds of products at this point. Everything you're using in your home may not be, made safe certifiable. You've got to have these things that you can use as designates to decide what's right and what's not for you. And so I hope that everybody, after kind of hearing this, will be motivated to look at that fragrance, think black box, bad black box.
Right.
And, even if you don't remember all the chemicals that can go in, just remember there's a lot of nasty stuff in there. Unless they're willing to be transparent about it, I probably don't want to know. And, I think about this because what are a lot of the products that contain this fragrance stuff? Well, it's a lot of really conventional big box store items that contain fragrance. And yet,
so we're just going to tell them your shampoos, your conditioners, your sunscreens, your facial moisturizers. This is
your
pretty
body moisturizer, your hand soap, your hand sanitizer. We don't want them unless they're transparent. And tell everybody at the store that, say, I want you to stock some made safe stuff so I know what's in it. I mean, take this on, because what the other thing that this gentleman said yesterday was, the only counter, because I said, well, what can we do to counter that? I mean, we don't have that kind of money, right, to lobby and have a presence. He said, yes, but you guys vote. And yes, we do. So we need to be loud and proud and continue on. So that's why I love this community, and it's so important to me. But why it's also, we have to not forget that we do have that power. We can vote. We vote with our dollars every single day on what we buy. So this is a good one to take action.
So if you guys are reaching us a little bit late, let me recap a little bit about what we've been talking about. So we're talking about really simple ways to spot a safe personal care product. This is like true 85% of the time, not 100% of the time, but most of the time, in a really simple way to do it. You flip that ingredient label over, you look at it, and you look for the word fragrance, perfume, or parfum. And if you see that word, that means they could be hiding lots and lots and lots and lots of chemicals that they never need to tell you about because it's proprietary, and they're hiding behind being proprietary. So that basically means they're not being transparent to you. So what's really in there? The companies that are disclosing are what they have in their fragrances, or disclosing 100% disclosure, are more likely to be giving you safer products. So even though this is not 100% of the time, because sometimes you will find those natural products that say quote unquote fragrance and they still won't tell you what they are, those guys need to get on board too, because I'm saying this is a world of transparency and social media. This is a world of consumers being empowered. Get on board. And that's what I say to every company, right? This is about them saying it's intellectual property. I say this is about bullshit. That's exactly what I say. They're hiding behind the word intellectual property. They're hiding behind the law. They can hide all they want. But what I say is we're smarter than them. We're just going to go buy something else. And then they can cry when they lose their market share. And when that happens, they're going to start thinking about being transparent. So as women, as consumers, as we have to do all these things for other people. We got a family to take care of. We got a husband to take care of. We got friends to take care of. We got all these people to care for. We don't have time for their BS, right? No time for it. No time whatsoever. Okay, I'm going to go to a couple of questions, Amy, because this chat room is amazing. So Adeline says, so if you like fragrance, what should you look for? Essential oils? What do you think, Amy?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked, because there's a lot of there's a lot of noise in the marketplace about essential oils, and for Adeline or Adeline, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. The thing is about essential oils, sometimes people push it back and say, well, they have toxic ingredients in them. The EU labels essential oils differently than we do. So it is absolutely widely known that within plant compounds, and if you think about the natural world and something growing out in the wild, that the plants develop ways to survive. And sometimes those ways to survive is actually growing like little microtoxins or poisons or special features within a plant. So we distill these plants down to get the essential oils, and you're going to get all of the amazing antioxidants. And with it, you're also going to get some of these properties, some of these compounds that may serve the plant very well in the wild, but maybe allergens for humans. Different kinds of allergens for different people. Some people look at like limonene, geraniol, and other components that can be, they're not the essential oil itself. It again is a sub-ingredient. Made Safe, we've consulted a lot of experts about this, a lot of people who know, and spend a lot of time studying these. What's believed is that when you have the whole essential oil, and when it is a true essential oil, exactly, and it has especially, hopefully, been grown organically, and it has it's intact. Those subcomponents, unless you have an extreme allergy, will be bound and in sort of they're kept in check, if you will, right. And that the benefits far outweigh the detractants. So the ability for it to help have antioxidant beneficial results or properties is far outweighs the problem. So yes, we like at Made Safe essential oils. We're really careful about the essential oils, where it's from, how it was processed. Some essential oils are steam distilled, or they're pressed, kind of compounded. Those are some of the best methods, but you could use a chemical extraction. We want to be really, really clear. Chemical extractions will always leave behind a trace of chemicals. So if you're extracting with hexane, which is a very toxic substance, you're going to have some of that left behind. So again, this comes to knowing your brands and looking at them and making sure you think you have, good products. It's really why.
Hey, that's a follow-up question she had real quick. Amy, are there major perfume and cosmetic brands that we recommend as natural and safe? Because you're going right in there. So let's do that while you're talking about that.
So I would look for in essential oils, I would look for making sure you understand how, if you're buying a pure one, how it's been extracted, and then using it, always following the manufacturer's guidelines, never using them direct on skin. But there's a brand like Anne Marie Gianni, and they use a lot of essential oils in their products. They're very careful about how they craft them. Another one would be Oilogix, and they use really lovely essential oils, and they make them safe for children. So I know that's also an important point. I'm trying to cover off some other brands. SW Basics makes great, simple products. They're available at Target.
Goddess Gardens just came out with a fragrance line. Beauty Counter, if you guys are a fan of Beauty Counter, I love that brand a lot. They don't have a fragrance line, but they put, essential oils in their products as opposed to, so I think she's also talking about that. So like brands that we really like, if you guys go to madesafe.org, I believe it's madesafe.org, and there is a thing that says products, click on products, and you can find all of the Made Safe certified products or all things that either one of us would stand behind. So they're either lab tested or their ingredient disclosure, and then there's a whole, a process that they go through to ensure that they're safe.
And I would just like to add, because we're talking about personal care, feminine hygiene, guys. Oh, yes. That is where a lot of fragrance hides, and it's kind of gross. So
you don't want that on your hoo-ha?
No, in your hoo-ha.
Come on, right?
Yeah.
Vagina. I said it. My girlfriend April from the Vagina blog, she's like, call it vagina. So I'm like, okay, vagina. I said it, but I also like saying
So you want to keep like, natural stuff in the nether regions and in your vagina and whatever your,
that was for you, April.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know you, April, but that was for you. But it's important. We make light, but actually that's some of the most sensitive skin. Your skin can absorb as much as 60% of stuff that you put on it. Well, your vaginal area is like internal and it's mucosal membrane. It's not as protective as your dermal layer. So
as it's inside, it's supposed to be protected by us.
Yeah. So if you're using talc, which I don't recommend, or, but there's a lot of scented talcs out there that people use, douche or wash, things like that. Just be really be keen on the fragrance there. I did also want to say, you asked about conventional brands. There is a movement afoot among conventional brands. Yeah, Leah and I wanted to make sure we touched on this to talk about, SC Johnson, Unilever, and Procter & Gamble have all made commitments to disclosing fragrance. Why? Because they hear you, they know
there's a business benefit in this, ladies, and it means that we be nicer to them, I guess you can say. They want this market share back is essentially what this means, Amy. So what I think is happening, and this is, you know how it goes. They say they're going to disclose or label or what have you. And what they're doing in the background is they're reformulating. So what I think is going to happen is they'll be reformulating. And when they come out with these scents, it's going to be phthalate free. You know what I'm saying? Because Lord knows they don't want that in their fragrance, or at least for us to see it, Do you have any other thoughts on that?
No, I think it's so important. I would say, I'm not ready to jump on their bandwagon and drink their Kool-Aid and drink their Kool-Aid entirely, but I do want to commend them for moving in the right direction. And, sometimes you won't like everything you read, right? But that's about us being strong enough to say, it's really hard to get to Made Safe. That should be a great bar that people aim for. And certainly there are brands that out of the starting gate are doing that. I think about Neal's Yard Remedies. They are known as oftentimes NYR. They're a brand that came from the UK. They are held to a stricter standard. They are born out of that. Oftentimes their stuff is biodynamic, and everything that they're making is scented from an essential oil. It is organic. It is pure. It is trustworthy, and they're great. That's really I hate to say this, but that was radical, They've
radical.
Been at this.
By the way, ladies, their facial moisturizer is amazing. So I love it. And I've been over the years used a lot of their products. We do recommend them in Green Enough, so you will find them in this book. And there's only a couple of MLMs that we've actually recommended. Beauty Counter was one. Neal's Yard was another one. I think we maybe did one other one, but the thing with the MLMs were difficult because of all the white labeling that the MLMs do with fragrance disclosure. And it just makes me scared because it makes me think that they don't know what's in their product. But Neal's Yard, that was one of them that we absolutely loved. And you know what? This actually follows up with the question, what are all the brands that are the most you have found that won't or haven't changed? So Amy, I know.
Just naming names. It's so funny because the way Made Safe is set to work is I don't want to even focus on the guys who are unwilling to change. I don't even think they deserve the airspace time, because they're going to be in my book they're going to be gone in the next decade. They're not going to have a market because this is where it's at. This is where it's going. Full disclosure is it. You're going to have to get on that train. If you're not, you're already running to catch up. And this is the future. So any brand that wants to take part in it has to, be forward thinking. And, Melissa, if you are wondering who we're talking about, flip over that bottle, flip over that box, look for that word fragrance, go to their website, see if they're being transparent about it.
It's just the big boys, it's all the big boys, essentially. So we actually have some we've got Women's Voices for the Earth is in the house. Yay! And they're giving us some shout outs to avoid fragrance and feminine care. I'm sure they love that because Women's Voices for the Earth they do a focus on feminine care. And watch out for odor control formulas.
Yeah, we were talking about.
I don't even know how to say that. This chemical is called Okay, thank you very much. I was going to say Nutrice. That's not right.
I mean, I don't know if I'm right, but Nutress is how I say it.
And this is found in Summer's Eve products. And do you know what they also have in Summer's Eve products? Spermicides. What the heck? If you are trying to get pregnant and using Summer's Eve, like, they should be telling you, that was in one of their,
And I just want to say, so it turns out that a lot of douches have been highly sold to minorities, more so than white women, two of us sitting here. And so and they're loaded with really lousy chemicals. And there is just in the world of toxics overall, minorities tend to suffer at a disproportionate rate. And that is unfortunate. One thing people ask, like, well, what do I do? And I'm like, well, there's a really simple solution, and it's just stop using it. So to anyone out there who's douching, like, stop douching. Your body is made to basically self-douche, like self-clean and all that.
And if you don't like the smell, just wear a panty liner.
Yeah. And use, use a nice wash.
Problem.
Well, and both Sustain Naturals and Good Clean Love make washes that are more neutral. And in particular, Good Clean Love has one that'll neutralize. Maybe you have like a bacterial overgrowth.
Like vaginosis.
Something is going on to make it smell funky. So go to your doctor, because I'm not one, and, figure that out if you think you do have a funky smell. And also, maybe try a wash, which, by the way, is Made Safe approved. So there isn't anything peculiar in it, and, see if that helps the problem. But refraining from use is a good way to save a little money, put that towards a better product in the first place, and go au naturel.
Here's another question really quick. Emma's asking us, what's an MLM? I'm sorry, I didn't explain myself. Multi-level marketing. So essentially, these are companies that instead of selling on the shelves, they're selling within networking through friends. And so I'm going to say that some people don't like MLMs. I actually really like them. I like the ones that are transparent, that are empowering to females, that are fair, yada, yada, yada. There's a lot of them that we love, like Beauty Counter is one. Pure Haven is another one. We've got Neil's Yard. So there's a lot of really great ones out there. And remember, when you're purchasing from that MLM, you're purchasing from a woman in your community, someone that's your friend. So you're kind of giving a leg up to someone that's close to you, as opposed to just a corporation. But then there's also, I would say, in this world of natural, Amy, there's a lot of female-owned businesses as well, which I love. I love when I see my ladies up there doing some crazy things and deciding that they're not going to do it the way everybody else does it. And they're just ballsy enough to start up a company. I love that. So Beauty Counter was one of those companies. Goddess Gardens was one of those companies. Earth Mama was one of those companies. The list goes on. And NatraCare was one of those companies. Good Clean Love was, a lot of these personal care products for women that are formulated better are started by women, because we see a problem and we're like, I got to fix this. I'm going to do it myself.
And it's not just, it's not just by women for women. A lot of times it's by women for children, because the people who are, also disproportionately impacted, not just minorities, as I said earlier, but children, babies. When you are incubating your little one and you're pregnant, that starts the clock. It's from age 0 to 6 where you are most impacted by chemicals in your environment. So these fragrance chemicals are a big part of that. If you have a scented candle, if you're that you're burning to like relax and have a nice groovy environment in your home, if you're using maybe you're worried about getting germs, so you're using a lot of hand soaps and sanitizers, just think about these things.
You're reading Kathy's mind, because Kathy just say, I loathe going into the doctor's office. Then it has that stinky plug-in scent in the waiting room. Yesterday at the dentist, there were scented candles and plug-ins, and I had to wait outside. And I totally get you, girl. Kathy, I now get headaches when I'm in an elevator with someone who has been doused in cologne or perfume, it starts to give me a headache. It didn't give me headaches, 10 years ago, but now that I'm not around these synthetic fragrances, I go through the fragrance section in the mall. I'm starting to wig out. Sometimes I even go into an Office Depot and the off-gassing from the furniture makes me nuts, so my goodness. Yeah. And the Yankee candles and Glade plugins, you just put the Yankee candles on a permanent vacation. Yeah. Kick the Glade plugins to the curb. Those are all fragrances, synthetic fragrances. It's the same exact thing.
Yep, those are really, really gnarly, nasty chemicals. And in fact, in this move for more, for some of the bigger companies to disclose, they're actually trying to remove a bunch of those chemicals from their products. So because I think they know if they actually put that on the package, people will, have a fit. Some of the chemicals in these products are linked with huffing, which is like something teenagers do. It's like a drug impact. I mean, it's crazy. So there's a lot of really crappy stuff in there. So let's just.
We got another question from Tamika. Tamika's asking us, what are the good panty liner brands? Okay, well, I love Natracare. There's a ton of new ones that are coming out. Do we have any ones that were? So is Natracare the main feminine care brand that you guys have certified? Are there more?
Natracare, yes, we've certified. They were here very early on. There's another company new to the US called Organique, and we've also been working with them. They're making organic or largely organic products as well. So there's something to watch, and there are a few exciting things in there in the future, kind of coming down the lane. I would, but Natracare is a great way to go. They're so widely available. Sometimes I realize, I don't have something and, it's that time of the month, and I order off Amazon and they're here the next day. Like, it just doesn't get better than that. So that's a good thing. I want to give,
go ahead. I was just going to say that when we're working in the world of natural, thank God for things like places like Amazon and Thrive Market and, Simple Real Foods, which is another brand that I love that discounts, some of these brands are discounting, but makes organic and natural products accessible to us, because even people that don't have a car typically have a phone and access to the internet. And so, these natural brands, they are going to show up in places like Target more and more, the more we demand them, right? Places like that will start to, distribute them. But really right now, a lot of times it's finding these things online. And so, your computer is your best friend, and then it comes right to your door. So here's a question from Susan. Would you like to be assured that the products you're using in your home are made with safe ingredients? Ask your favorite brands to get their products Made Safe certified. So this is Susan chiming in. She works with Made Safe.
Made Safe, exactly.
Yeah, I was like, okay, for a second, I was like, hey, okay, there's Susan. But here's the thing, guys, it's absolutely right. So if you see a brand that you really like, you tell them that, number one, hey, you've got fragrance. I want you to disclose that fragrance, number one. And then two, hey, why don't you go get Made Safe certified? Because then I can really, really, really trust you, because, they're doing all the work for us so that we don't have to do that work, ladies. I mean, it's just like, we know that you got shit to do. You got stuff to do. You got a life, right? Your house is green enough to be healthy and chill enough to be happy. You're doing the chilling right now, right? So let Made Safe do that work for you, because Amy and her team is working incredibly hard. And some of the advisors that she has are the same advisors that I have, and they are like legit. So here's another question. Kristen Stanley is, what are some of the best websites for shopping green? And of course, we covered this. So of course, you can go through Made Safe and find things, right? And go to their website. There's Thrive Market is another one. There's Simply Real Foods, I believe also they're another discounted brand. Do you have any others that you would recommend, Amy?
Since we're talking about personal care, I will give a shout out to a retailer that I think is doing some really interesting stuff. Not everything in there is fully Made Safe certified, but they are taking beauty products and shopping for beauty products to a really different level. And I like what they're doing. And they're called Follain. I'll spell it so people can find it. It's FOLLAIN. And then the URL is Follain Shop. lifesaver.com. They have a few stores in Boston and DC and a few other places. I think they're trying to expand. But it's kind of like if you've ever gone into a Sephora and you're just like, oh, I wish they had a natural section. Like, I don't know how to deal with this. Everything in Fulane is going to be better. You know, it is a great starting point. And I think that's really important because we got to give people a way in. And so, you know, that's a really good one too. And everything, Leah.
I'm watching some of these comments, and Kristen says, who are you scared of the most coming to your home? I would say Leah, but would be awesome to help me spring purge.
I mean, I get that all the time. My husband is like, oh, I don't think we're getting invited to any more dinner parties. You scared everybody off, you know, like you. And so I have this joke that, like, you know, I can clear a room in about a second. Like, I just like, tell me your favorite thing and I'll ruin it for you. So
that's if they give you, if they ask you, you can ruin anything. What is that show? Adam ruins everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah. This is why Leah and I are friends.
Amy and Leah ruin everything. Okay. So, I mean, if you guys, honestly, if you don't want to have me going to your house, the easiest way to do this is, honestly, I'm just telling you, pick up a copy of my book. When I'm telling you that I take the crazy out of going green, non-toxic, I am dead serious, because I wrote this book to be entertaining, digestible, and accessible and funny. And then the science comes second. And that's how I had to tackle it, because there were so many books that, you know, I've been reading over the years, and it just makes my eyes bleed. And I was just like, where's the levity? Where's the fun? Where's the, you know? So honestly, guys, honestly, get a copy of my book, read it. Trust me, even in the very introductory chapter, you're going to find, okay, I can deal with Leah, because it is literally like me sitting there and saying, come on, girl, let's do this. I got your back, you know.
Exactly.
Make sure, however, you pour yourself a glass of organic wine, because it's a lot. And the other thing, you know, personal care, just be really serious. There was a reason why it's the last chapter in my book. And the reason is, it is really personal, you know, so that means some of these brands and these products you're going to try, some you will like, some you will not like, because it's personal to you and it's based on how your body is interacting with it. And so for some people, like for instance, I cannot put any citrus in my deodorant. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Is that bizarre or what? If I put a citrus essential oil, my deodorant does not work. But I use anything else and it works. And I have no idea why, but that's just my body. So I've learned that everybody is different, right? So for some reason, my body says, here's citrus, yay, bacteria, let's continue to grow. You know what I mean? Like, my citrus is attracting bacteria for me. So therefore the stanky stank happens. So, you know, I learned that over trial and error, and I use different essential oils, or I use brands that don't put in a citrus. So it's like the lemonade flavor, forget it. It's not working on me, you know, or the limeade flavor, you know, forget it. That's not working on me. So again, you know, personal care is personal. And I would never say, so like, if you guys want to do a purge, there is a purge in this chapter so that you can understand what you need to do. That first step is what we talked about. Fragrance, fragrance, fragrance. That's the first thing we're going to ask you to do, is take all your personal care products out, look at them, flip them over, and see what has fragrance. And what I recommend you to do in the book is look, don't purge. And there's a reason why I'm telling you to do that. Because if you purged everything, then all of a sudden you're going to have to go out and find everything to replace it, and you may not like it. So what I say is, instead of purging everything, do a trial and error. Grab one thing at a time, find a product that you like, then you have it replaced, then find another one. And it's less chaotic that way, right? Mm-hmm. So love the purges. That's I'm going to say, do the purge if you're that kind of girl, where you just like need to get rid of it all and then just do it. If you're that kind of girl, hey, have at it. But I am not. So that was like, you know, chaos to me. Amy, what do you think about the purging?
Yeah, I think people always ask me, you know, where do I start? And you're exactly right, Leah. Like, I actually think it's a lot easier to ease your way into this. And I always say, start with whatever you have to buy next. Like, don't spend a fortune. You already be mad before you've even started that you're doing it sort of like begrudgingly, you know, unless you happen to be in a store that, you know, the products are all really consciously crafted and you're super excited about that. And you're like, I'm going to go for it. And buy a bunch of these things to try. But I really also think, we don't want to encourage you to waste and all that. You usually use up what you have, buy the next. And I wanted to just talk about that thing that Leah was saying. They're all personal. At Made Safe, we talk about bio-individuality a lot. That was a big kind of word, but it just basically means like we've all had our own experience in life, our own exposure to different kinds of chemicals, and we'll have our own sensitivities, tolerances, and intolerances. But the thing that you want to remember is with health, if you think about kind of your what we call your body burden, and lots of these chemicals impact that, or your whole toxic load, you want to think about it in totality. And everything that you can do to avoid, think about it as like a rain barrel, and it's this big barrel collecting water, and water's going in with every exposure you have, all those fragrance products, adding stuff in, things from pollution, the environment, pesticides, all going in. And when it gets to the top, your rain barrel, your body burden, kind of your body's ability to tolerate all that stuff, well, it stops being able to absorb it, and it starts splashing over and splashing outside of that barrel, right? And so what happens is then you start to experience, maybe you're experiencing psoriasis or eczema or another skin irritation or headaches or something else. Those are like your first responses to an allergy. Listen to your body at that moment, because that's when that's before it's sick. It's just saying, I'm throwing up a red flag. This is the flare. Are you going to pay attention?
Help me!
Exactly.
Your body says, help! And then it gets louder and says, help me! And then it's like, stop!
Yeah, exactly. Right. So everything you remove, every single product that you get out, the toxic fragrance, you're doing your body a favor. It's going to feel better. Keep going with that, but don't overwhelm yourself. Do it as you can. Do it, step by step, one thing at a time as you need it. I think that'll, serve you really well.
Happy, ladies, chill enough to be happy. So when you feel yourself getting overwhelmed, you remember, okay, I got to chill out. This is Leah's chill out rule, right? Yeah. And then you just chill out, okay? And take a breather. And that's what that is, because honestly, the world is messed up when it comes to these types of products. And the more you know, the crazier it gets, and the more you understand, right? But that is why we also have to remember our mental health is very, very important. So although it's great to know all of these things and know the chemicals and know the reactions and know this and know that, guess what? Stress is also really bad for you, right? So that is not the road we want to go down. And we also don't want to make our children crazy. We don't want to give them eating disorders. We don't want to give them neuroses. And, we can do by reacting to things. So remember, green enough to be healthy, chill enough to be happy. You got to walk that tightrope, and you know what that is. We can't tell you what that is. You know what that is. That's your timeline, your family, your way. And we will always support you. Always, always, always in what you need to do. It's never not fast enough. It's never not slow enough. We don't care. Being part of this community means that you are accepted, you are loved, you are appreciated, you are valued, you are you, and you do you. We are just here to support you. We are just here to make your life just a little bit easier. And we're here for you to come in and say, oh my God, I'm freaking out about this. Help me, help me, help me. And we're going to help you, and that's what this is about. And honestly, this is sisterhood, right? So this is us all getting together and doing our own thing, right? And us all accepting each other and their way of doing it. So don't forget, chill, chill, chill. We got to have that part. And always bring it to us, if you ever have a question. So we're running out of time here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to announce one of our winners. And I just got so if you guys don't know, Momavation TV is chiming in below, and that is Ashley. She went to random.org and picked one of your winners. We picked a winner from the comments. And so the winner of one of my Green Enough books
lucky winner.
Drum roll. Melissa A. Bedso. Did I say I know I probably butchered your last name. But Melissa, congratulations. I'm going to be sending you this book. I am going to sign it and send it to you. This is what I need you to do right now. I need you to send me an email so that I have your address. And I need you to send it to, maybe I should write it down, Leah. So it's, hold on, let me see if I can get it in here. I hope she hears me. Maybe I should just stick it up here. Leah at bookyboo.com. So I need you to send me an email right now to Leah at bookyboo.com. Send me your address. And congratulations, my dear. And you guys, so that's lucky. Where you guys can reach me anytime. That's the email that I'm.
And for everybody else, you should go and buy your copy and get started. If you don't have it, it is an amazing book. As I said, I was a little afraid, like, oh, how's she going to do this?
I remember you saying that to me. You're like, I don't know, Leah.
you did. It's awesome. So it's such a great book. Like, when I'm saying that, and I, for Made Safe with just my super high standards, I think it is a fabulous book, and it's a great way to get started on this journey or dive a little deeper if you're already on it. There may be, there's always, this work is like peeling an onion. You peel a layer, you think you know all there is, and then you learn something else, or the science shifts and there's, something more, so you can go deeper. But we love the book. And Leah is an advisor to Made Safe. She's been a super supporter. So I'm very grateful to be, to have her smarts helping us, and, to be part of this community, which has always been really important to me and on my growth. So for all those people who are like, oh my gosh, where am I going? You have thousands of us sisters here, to kind of catch you and help you on your way.
Yeah. So you guys, this has been an amazing first show. I have been putting this off for quite a while because, back in the day when I used to do my show every week, I did it every week for 5 years, 5 years of a show every week. And it was like Monday night. And then it was and then I took off, I literally took off 5 years, maybe 6 years, and didn't do a show. And I organized a conference and I did all these other things. And then I just realized, I got to start getting back on Facebook Live because everyone's on Facebook Live and it's so easy now. Like, Facebook Live is easy. What I used to have to do and the hell that I had to do to put on a show and produce a show was chaos compared to the simplicity that we have here. So I really wanted to thank Amy again for, coming on and being my guest today on the show. You can find Amy Ziff. She's the executive director and founder of madesafe.org. I would highly, 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 highly recommend that if you have any questions or you're looking for a personal care product that is something that you can do, you can find all of those product investigations in Green Enough. We've done pretty much thousands of them. Another thing you can do today, right now, if you don't have the book, is you go to madesafe.org and they have certified a ton of products and are continuing to certify. And if you want your brand, if your brand is not Made Safe certified, tell them. Tell them on Facebook. Tell them on Twitter. Tell them. We have the ability to interact with these brands now. We are, they are actually listening to us. The big brands are changing. Tell them what you want them to do. Stop, putting quote unquote fragrance in their products. Start disclosing. And again, ladies, remember, the simplest way that you can figure out a safer personal care product is if they're disclosing their fragrance. Now, there's some natural products that don't disclose, but I think we should pressure them and make them disclose, because sometimes it's like, do you really know? That's the question. And we want to make sure that they're disclosing. Everybody should be disclosing, because this is the age of transparency. I'm going to give you the final word, Amy.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I think we've covered a lot of ground. I hope you take it to heart. Avoid fragrance. Check out not just Leah's book, again, madesafe.org. It's really easy to remember. I loved the shout out. Please do ask your brands, why aren't you Made Safe? Get Made Safe. Tell us, we're a little nonprofit. We need your voices. We're doing big work and we're doing game-changing work, and we're doing work that is so needed in the world. So help support us, if not with a donation, with your voice. That would be great.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Our last book will be given away this weekend. So continue to comment, continue to share, continue to interact with this, share it with your friends. I know you guys have lots of girlfriends. Most of you that were like, oh, I had no idea. That is exactly the reaction that we were hoping for, because you know what? It is that simple, and it is that weird, and it is something that's easily solvable. So share this with your friends, share this with anybody that you want, continue to comment. And over the weekend, we'll draw another winner to win a copy of Green Enough, and I will sign it and get it out to you. But thank you, ladies, for joining us for our first show back. And I love you all.
Thanks
again, Amy.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Me. Thank you. Bye.